Now here on Kiwi.
Tonight, there are no two Frances pitted against each other. There is but one France, but one nation unified in the same destiny. And everyone in France, every man, every woman within this republic shall enjoy the same rights and duties.
It is time for Eye on the World with Paul Buchanan at 36-parallel.com. Welcome to the show, Paul.
Good morning.
And as we just heard there, that is the new president of France. The Greeks have also gone to the polls as well, and they seem to be, that is the people rebelling against the austerity measures that have been put in place on their countries, and seem to be looking for an alternative way forward. What does all this mean for the Eurozone, and how different are these leaders going to be?
Well, it certainly spells serious trouble for the Eurozone. One thing that's been interesting is, particularly with Francois Hollande, the discussion is always prefaced by the fact that he's the leader of the Socialist Party. But what we should understand is what's happening here is a now very stark division within Europe as a whole between those who advocate economic sovereignty and those who prefer market domination of national economies. And that's not a left or right matter. What we've seen in France and Greece is that both the left and the right have coalesced against these austerity measures, leaving the centrist parties, which are dominated by market ideologues, completely in the lurch. It was very interesting to see that a lot of the votes that normally would go to the far right in France, particularly Marie Le Pen's votes, were split, with half of them going to Hollande, which is rather remarkable given that they have neo-fascist inclinations, and the same thing occurred in Greece. Now, what's interesting in Greece is simply that no one was able to get anywhere close to a majority. The two dominant parties, PASOK, which is a socialist party, and New Democracy, which is right-center, between them couldn't even get 35% of the vote. So what we've seen now is the emergence of a anti-market coalition that includes not only more radical left parties, the Communist Party as well, but also, rather alarmingly, the emergence of an outright neo-fascist party in the form of New Dawn, which garnered almost 7% of the vote, 22 deputies in Parliament, and they're going to have a say in this matter. So it augurs poorly for the 3-decade-long dominance of market logics in Europe. And I should point out that these are not the only elections where those who are pro-market have been thrown out. Last year in Spain, the socialist government was thrown out because of its preference for austerity measures. The same thing happened in Portugal, June last year. A socialist government was thrown out. And we see it now down to the local level. Last week's local elections in England were a devastating defeat for the Conservatives. In fact, on this past weekend, the same thing happened in local elections in the northernmost state in Germany, which was a repudiation of Angela Merkel, and Germany is the leader of this market domination. So it's not left or right. It's about national economic sovereignty versus the wishes of the bankers, and in the measure that we continue to see anti-market political forces emerge to the fore, I fear that we're going to see, if not defections from the euro, certainly a major redrawing of the terms with regards to debt repayment.
And I guess the people who voted in these elections will hope that the future will be brighter for them. Other people, of course, warn that a breakup of the Eurozone is going to cause even more chaos. What do you make of that?
Well, I think we have to understand, first of all, it couldn't get much more broken. The average rate of unemployment in the Eurozone is 10.7%. 8 of the 17 countries in the Eurozone are in a multi-year recession, so things are extremely poor across the board. And this raises the more fundamental question. Are nations, first and foremost, political communities, or are they economic communities? And that's, of course, the perennial question. What we're seeing here are people saying we are political communities first. We will not adhere to the dictates of unelected bankers who took extreme risks in lending to rather shonky governments, in fact, who loosened the credit ratings of governments such as Greece in order to lend them more money, money that was ill spent by the elites, not by the people. One of the things that's alarming here in New Zealand is the Greek bashing, the Spain bashing, as if the people of Greece, the people of Spain, were the architects of this disaster. This was done by very Europeanized, EU-oriented elites who, when not pocketing some of these funds, certainly wasted them on patronage politics and the like. And so that's one of the silver linings in this cloud, is that people are willing to accept austerity because they've now realized that they were living a little too high given their productive capacity. But they are not going to be reduced and dehumanized in the measure that they have been because of these austerity measures, because it was the bankers who took the risk. And just think of it in terms of very simple capitalist logics. Capitalism is about taking risks. If you take an extreme risk and you fail, it's on you. The bankers in France, Germany, and Britain want the people of Greece, the people of France, the people of Spain, and the people of Portugal to do is bail them out. The bailout actually goes the other way. The banks want to recover their ill-begotten loans, and quite frankly, they took the risk. And what you're seeing now electorally is people saying, we will not pay for your ill-begotten decisions. We are a political community first, and we will now redraw the terms of the implicit contract around growth, not austerity. And let's face it, there's an old axiom in politics that those who determine or dictate the terms of debate win that debate. The debate for the last 20 years has been about market domination, the logic of the market. And what we've seen in this rash of elections, let's understand, 11 governments have fallen since 2009 in Europe.
Yeah.
All of them were pro-market, and all of them were replaced by, if not anti-market, more moderate regimes, again, whether they be left or right. This includes center-right governments. And so what we've seen is a sea change against market domination of the European zone. And the question now is, what are the markets going to do? If they try to squeeze these polities even tighter, we may well see defections from the Eurozone, starting with Greece. It's now an open conversation in Greece as whether they should drop the euro, return to the drachma, and start afresh off of that base. And quite frankly, having lived in Greece in 2010 for a period of time, I'm not entirely sure that they'll do too bad if they get out from under the Germans.
But is there any risk, though? I mean, you're sure that some of these new governments are moderate, but you've been talking about the extreme left and the extreme right. Are there any inherent risks that come with electing more extreme left and extreme right governments in the Eurozone?
Well, yes, of course, there's a lot of risks, and of course, when you have economic bad times, what surfaces is racism, xenophobia. The New Dawn leader campaigned more on anti-immigration than anything else. Of course, we know about Le Pen in France and the anti-immigration struggles that have occurred there. In fact, throughout Europe, there's a lot of xenophobia. But the important point is this. Although that they have garnered an increased percentage of the popular vote, they are not going to be leading any coalition that comes out, be it in Greece or elsewhere, as a government. They will have a say. And certainly, for example, the Syriza coalition in Greece, which is a leftist coalition that is a little more radical than the socialists, they and the New Dawn, these neo-fascists, can agree on fighting austerity. They will not agree on the immigration questions. So if the neo-fascists want in, they are going to have to moderate their demands in order to have a voice in government. And that's the good thing about parliamentary politics. You can talk extremist language. You can talk rather shrilly in the campaign. But, if you win, then you're going to have to moderate your discourse in order to have that voice in government. If groups like New Dawn do not moderate their discourse, then they will be excluded. And there are other parties in Greece that are happy to come to the table. And what unifies them all is the idea that they're going to have to renegotiate yet again the debt repayment schedule. And quite frankly, what everybody's aiming at is the bankers are going to have to take a hit. The bankers are going to have to realize that the terms that they are trying to impose are impossible to impose. They're going to have to declare some losses, draw down their gains, and start over if they want to preserve the Eurozone as a currency market. If they don't want to do that, which I doubt is on their minds, then they may well see defections. And this extends into Eastern Europe. I mean, we just had a leftist coalition, anti-austerity, voted in Romania. So all thoughts of expanding the European Union are completely off the table now. And what's there instead is a rise of nationalist control over local economies that mitigate the power of the bankers throughout that entire region.
Well, it is a fascinating area to keep on watching, that's for sure. And Paul has been joining us from 36-parallel.com, where you'll see this as a video, and also livenews.co.nz. Thanks very much, Paul.
Thanks.
Here's Fly My Pretties. This is Heavy Weather at 8:51 here on Kiwi.